Of my free will and sound in mind, I swear this solemn oath. I pledge myself to the great hunt. In the face of fear, I shall not waver. In the face of death, I shall fight to the last. When the lament calls me, I shall resist temptation. And should I fail to abide by this sacred oath, I ask my brothers and sisters to put a price on me. So say I, the hunter of the Grimcoven. I have finally played my first boss battling board game. Grimcoven grabbed my attention with its over-the-top miniature design and the promise of highly thematic, cooperative, one-shot boss fights. Today, I'll discuss what is working for me with this game, what isn't, and possibly even alleviate some of the fears you may have based on other reviewers' complaints. Welcome to Treehane Miniatures. This is a review for a game that I purchased with my own money, and I have no affiliation with Awakened Realms whatsoever. I am not the biggest Awakened Realms fanboy, but I am very comfortable backing their games if I'm even the slightest bit interested. I backed Grimcoven because I'm looking for a game that has the same level of excitement as Cthulhu Death May Die, but is different enough from Cthulhu Death May Die to warrant owning both. Since Grimcoven is more of a boss battler and less of a dungeon crawler, I feel it fits the bill nicely. On paper. Grimcoven is my first experience with a boss battler, so it has been interesting to say the least. Grimcoven is a ruthless boss battler with RPG elements. Each game is based on one of many scenarios chosen from an available pool. Each scenario offers a different world, different rules, different threats, but the goal always remains the same: defeat the grief-bound, survive, and don't yield to the tempting power of lament. The game flow is very smooth and systematic. There are 4 phases to each round. The players, known as hunters, use their dice to take 2 actions per turn. All hunters continue taking actions until they decide to pass. Once all hunters have passed, the second phase of the round begins, and all of the enemies have an opportunity to attack the hunters. The third phase is the lament phase, which essentially allows you to spend the lament you've acquired this round to upgrade your hunter. Finally, there is a refresh phase where you re-roll all of your dice and apply status effects, such as burn. We can't really discuss setting up the game without also discussing storage and organization. As seems typical with an Awakened Realms game, getting all of the components to fit in the box without lid lift can be frustrating. The card storage and miniature storage are awesome. You will have difficulty getting sleeved cards in this box. Hopefully, if you're a sleever, you picked up the official sleeves from the campaign, which come with their own storage box that'll fit all of the sleeved cards. There is also an issue where many different tokens need to share the same compartment within the token tray. Not ideal. But the real frustration comes with this top compartment that holds all of the map tiles, hunter boards, and griefbound. These components need to be perfectly Tetrised into place. What adds insult to injury here is that Awakened Realms shipped the box with lid lift. There is no reason they couldn't have left us with another 3/4 of an inch of storage space. Very weird decision on their part. But that's the storage issue. As far as organization goes, once everything is perfectly sorted into the box, the organization of the components makes setup incredibly straightforward. Every item in the box is easy to locate and retrieve. It's about as difficult to set up as a session of Cthulhu Death May Die. In fact, I think that setting up the map tiles may be even easier than with Cthulhu Death May Die. There are only a few different tile shapes, and there are only 3 to 4 variations of each tile. Mostly, it's the card dividers that streamline setup. There are some random elements to set up with the card decks, such as choosing random cards for terrain, landmarks, and minions. Maybe this is what people find too taxing. I'm not sure. It may take about 15 minutes to set up the game, but taking 15 minutes to set up a game you're gonna play for 2 to 4 hours seems reasonable. One positive with game setup is that you're probably going to lose your first attempt or 2. So once the game's set up, it's good for 2 to 3 play sessions. Jokes aside, I really didn't have any issues setting up this game. It may take a while, but it makes sense and it flows smoothly. Disregarding the setup and hunter-specific sections of the rulebook, the gameplay rules section is only 14 pages long. This is perhaps Awakened Realms' most coherent rulebook ever. With a single dedicated read-through, I was able to understand how to play and teach this game. Teaching this game to others is as easy as teaching a simple dice worker placement game, because that's basically what's at the heart of the hunter phase of this game. Choose a die with the appropriate face, place it on an action location, and take that action. It's that easy. Unfortunately, some of the instructions are incorrect, and there is already an errata sheet for download from Awakened Realms site. For example, the river train cards have an on-enter effect that affects hunters entering the space. Or the assumption would be that these conditions take effect upon entering the space. However, the errata states that on-enter effects only resolve if a character ends its movement on that space. So shouldn't the card read, if ending movement on this space? I wonder if this is just a poor English translation or if the rules were really written this poorly. There are plenty of other examples as well, but I don't want to beat a dead horse. Or a live horse for that matter. Needless to say, you will need this errata sheet to comprehend the rules fully. This is unfortunate since the rulebook as a whole is so well written. The overall objective in every game of Grimcoven is to defeat the Griefbound. This is accomplished by dealing damage to the Griefbound's individual body parts, which are represented by the Griefbound's attack cards. Deal enough damage to an attack card and it is removed from the game. Remove enough attack cards and you'll face the Griefbound's final attack card in an ultimate showdown. While defeating the Griefbound is the only way to win the game, there are two ways to lose the game. A hunter dies, or the players run out of time. Game time is measured by the cards in the event deck. Run out of event cards and the game is lost. The game structure flows smoothly and intuitively, but it's not without its faults. A typical game session consists of 8 rounds and there are 4 phases per round. Phase 1 is the Hunter phase, and this is the meat of the gameplay in Grimcoven. Hunters take turns performing 2 actions per turn. Hunters take one of their action dice, place it on the desired action location, and perform that action. That action is then blocked for the rest of the round. Actions are usually one of moving, attacking, or shielding. This play continues around the table until all hunters can no longer perform 2 actions on their turn or they decide to pass. This phase is where all of the fun takes place. You're coordinating with other hunters, dealing damage to enemies, and generally feeling like a badass. Enjoy this feeling while you've got it. The next 3 phases feel like work. In phase 2, the enemies attack. This is pretty typical of a game like this. However, here, it is a 5-step process that can feel quite tedious if there are a lot of enemies on the board. The process begins by revealing and resolving an event card. These events usually aren't too bad for the hunters. Then the minions activate, one at a time. Each minion activates based on one of 2 parameters that are described on the minion card. The first possible activation relies on the minion's proximity to a hunter. If the first parameter doesn't apply, then the minion takes the second action. So if 4 minions can apply the first action to a single hunter, they will do so one at a time. If one of the first few minions defeats the hunter, then the remaining minions will act based on the location of the next closest hunter. This procedure can drag down the game flow. It would make much more sense, both thematically and gameplay-wise, to move all minions toward the appropriate hunters and then attack. If a band of minions spots a hunter to attack, they would most likely move as a group and attack with vengeance. It's not like this is some cheesy 1970s kung fu flick, where enemies encircle their target and take turns attacking the hero one at a time. This is supposed to be a grim dark bloodbath. Continuing with the enemy phase, the Elite activates one of the 2 possible actions on its card. Then the Griefbound attacks. The Griefbound attack card usually contains 2 to 5 possible steps. If the attack card has damage on it equal to or exceeding the number of players, the focus steps won't occur. Then the Griefbound advances its time track, which will trigger effects such as spawning minions, performing their special action, or leveling up the Griefbound and Elite enemies. And that wraps up phase 2 of the round. Next is the Lament phase, where players draw corruption cards, apply their effects, and spend Lament to upgrade their hunters. The final phase is when players refresh their player area and apply the effects of any status tokens they may have. Then the first player token is passed and the next round begins. I thoroughly enjoy the Hunter phase of this game, but it feels like half of the game is spent on the other 4 phases performing maintenance. If you are at all familiar with Awakened Realms games, then you know exactly what to expect from this production. The component quality is top tier. The miniatures are definitely the star of the show here. I'll link to my unboxing video where I showcase all of the miniatures from this game along with their artwork. The one small gripe that I have is that the map tile spaces are a little too small to accommodate 4 separate miniatures. The Griefbound plus 2 hunters is even too tight. Not a deal breaker, but worth mentioning. I don't do a lot of solo gaming, but I did check out the solo mode of Grimcoven for this review. It's a lot like two-handing a cooperative game, but a little more streamlined. The second character you're playing is considered a deputy. Playing the deputy is similar to playing a standard character, but you use blank tokens instead of dice. The deputy's action slots have no symbols, and the action tokens are considered dice with blank faces. You simply select an available action and mark it with a token. Everything else plays the same as a standard hunter. In my opinion, the solo mode doesn't compare to strategizing and coordinating with other players around the table, but it's still quite fun for those looking for a little alone time. Despite having some complaints, I am thoroughly enjoying my time with this game. In fact, the more I play it, the more it rises in my esteem. It may feel like the pace of the game slows to a crawl for 4 of the 5 phases each round, but the hunter phase is so good I think it's worth it. I've only played the game half a dozen times or so, but I can see myself staying engaged with this until I've beaten all 25 boss encounters. This really is a fun puzzle for me. It helps that the main gameplay mechanism for the hunters feels like a dice worker placement game. Worker placement is one of my favorite Eurogame mechanisms. This game scratches that itch, plus it immerses me in a thematic grimdark universe. It's like the best of both worlds between Eurogames and Ameritrash. I'm giving this game a score of 4 out of 5, which means that it is a must-play game for fans of this style of game. If you're into cooperative miniature games like Cthulhu Death May Die or Massive Darkness, you should do yourself a favor and check out Grimcoven. I'd like to thank my incredible channel members for supporting videos like this. You too can become a channel member for as little as $1.99 per month and receive perks such as early access to videos, extended versions of our painting tutorials, and even a tier that lets you choose which miniature I paint next. Thank you so much for watching. Please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel to join our growing community of Griefbound.